The great hall of Station Meridian was silent. Hyunwoo stood at the center, facing the Galactic Council. His dark suit looked plain next to the colorful bodies of the alien representatives. Some had scales, some had feathers, and some were made of light itself. They all watched him with different kinds of eyes. Hyunwoo held a small datapad in his hand. His fingers were steady, but his heart was heavy. This was the last time a human would speak to the Galactic Council. After today, humanity would be gone. Honored members of the Council, Hyunwoo began. His voice echoed in the massive chamber. I stand before you today to deliver humanity's final message. The Serpentine Council speaker, Valerian, shifted on his platform. His scales clicked together softly. He looked pleased, as if he had won something important. For 200 years we walked among you, Hyunwoo continued. We came to the stars with hope. We wanted to learn. We wanted to share. We wanted to be friends. A crystalline being named Krath made a sound like breaking glass. It meant he was laughing. Several other council members joined him. Hyunwoo did not stop. We brought medicine that saved millions of your people. You called us thieves and said we stole the ideas from someone else. We stopped wars between your worlds. You called us violent and said we only made things worse. We shared our food, our music, our stories. You called us primitive and barbaric. The laughter stopped. The hall became quiet again. Every time there was a problem, you blamed humans. Every time there was a fight, you said we started it. Every time something went wrong, we were the reason. Hyunwoo's voice grew stronger. We tried to prove ourselves. We worked harder. We gave more. But it was never enough. Valerian spoke, his voice smooth like oil. Ambassador, humanity has always been aggressive. Your species thrives on conflict. The galaxy is better off without your influence. Is that what you believe? Hyunwoo asked. He looked around at all the council members. Then you will get your wish. Humanity is leaving. Not just this station, not just the colonies. We are leaving the entire galaxy. The hall erupted in noise. Some aliens cheered. Others looked confused. A few seemed worried. Hyunwoo raised his hand and the noise died down. We will take nothing that belongs to others. We will destroy nothing, but everything we built, everything we created, every station and ship and home we made, we will take it all with us. Where will you go? Asked a small alien with too many eyes. Away, Hyunwoo said simply. Beyond the rim, beyond the known stars. We will find a new home far from here. You will never see us again. He placed the datapad on the speaker's platform. This contains all our treaties, all our agreements, all our promises. We release you from all of them. Humanity owes the galaxy nothing now, and the galaxy owes humanity nothing. Hyunwoo turned and walked toward the exit. His footsteps were the only sound in the hall. Just before he reached the door, he stopped and looked back. We came to you with open hearts, he said quietly. We gave you everything we had. You took it all and still wanted us gone. We leave not in anger but in disappointment. May you find what you seek without us. Then he was gone. Outside the council chambers, Commander Ji-young was waiting. She wore the blue uniform of the human fleet. Her face was tired but determined. Is it done? She asked. Hyunwoo nodded. It's done. Begin the evacuation. Ji-young touched her communicator. All stations, this is Fleet Commander Ji-young. Operation Exodus is now active. Begin departure procedures. Across the galaxy, humans started to leave. They packed their homes into ships. They said goodbye to alien friends who cried and begged them to stay. They disconnected their stations from the galactic network. They pulled up their colonies like old roots. It took 3 months. 3 months to erase 2 centuries of human presence in the galaxy. On the last day, Ji-young stood on Station Echo 7, the final human outpost. Through the window, she could see Earth in the distance. The blue planet looked so small from here. Humans had left Earth centuries ago to explore the stars. Now they were leaving the stars to find a new home. Commander, a young officer said, all personnel are aboard. The station is empty except for us. Good, Ji-young said. Set the self-destruct, ma'am. The officer looked shocked. I thought we weren't destroying anything. We're not destroying it, Ji-young explained. We're taking it apart. Every piece will be loaded onto the cargo ships. This station was built by human hands. It will travel with us, the officer smiled. Yes, ma'am. In a small office on the station, Yuna sat at her desk. She was a historian and her job was to record everything. She had documented humanity's arrival in the galaxy. Now she would document their departure. She typed the final entry into her computer. Today, humanity leaves the galactic community. We were not perfect. We made mistakes. We had flaws. But we tried. We tried so hard to be good neighbors. We gave them our medicine and they said we were showing off. We gave them our protection and they said we were violent. We gave them our friendship and they said we wanted something in return. Maybe they were right to be suspicious. Maybe humans are too different. Maybe we never belonged here. But I believe we gave them something valuable. I believe we made the galaxy better. And I believe someday they will realize what they lost. We are not leaving in anger. We are leaving in sadness. The galaxy wanted us gone, so we are going. Let history judge who was right. Yuna saved the file and closed her computer. She picked it up and walked to the shuttle bay. Ji-young was already there, waiting. Is everyone aboard? Yuna asked. Everyone, Ji-young confirmed. You're the last one. They boarded the shuttle together. Through the window, they watched as Station Echo 7 was carefully taken apart by construction drones. Every panel, every wire, every piece was loaded onto massive cargo ships. The shuttle pulled away and joined the fleet. Thousands of human ships filled the space around Earth. It was the largest gathering of human vessels ever assembled. Hyunwoo's voice came over the fleet-wide channel. People of humanity, today we leave behind the life we knew. We head into the unknown, but we head there together. We are not running away. We are moving forward. Let us find a place where we can build something new, something better, something ours. The fleet began to move, slowly at first, then faster and faster. They passed the moon, past Mars, past the outer planets. They reached the edge of the solar system and kept going. Behind them, the galaxy continued to turn. The aliens celebrated. Finally, the troublesome humans were gone. Finally, there would be peace. Nobody noticed the small changes at first. Nobody saw the cracks that were starting to form. Nobody realized that removing humans from the galaxy was like removing a foundation stone from a building. But they would learn. In time, they would all learn. The human fleet disappeared beyond the galactic rim and the stars watched them go in silence. 15 years had passed since the humans left. The galaxy had celebrated their departure like a holiday. There were festivals, speeches, and monuments built to honor the new era of peace. Taeyang sat in his small quarters on the Exodus fleet ship called New Dawn. He had been a liaison between humans and aliens for many years. He knew more alien languages than most people knew existed. Sometimes he missed that work. Sometimes he missed his alien friends. His computer beeped. A message was coming through on an old channel, one that wasn't supposed to exist anymore. Humans had shut down all communication with the galaxy when they left. The message was from Rixal, an avian trader Taeyang had known for decades. Rixal had bright blue feathers and a sharp mind for business. Taeyang, if you're still listening, I need to talk to someone who understands what's happening. Things are changing. Bad changes. Please respond if you can. Taeyang stared at the message for a long time. He shouldn't respond. Humanity had made a clean break. But Rixal had been a true friend, one of the few who had protested when humans were forced to leave. He didn't reply. Not yet. First, he needed to understand what was happening. Far away on a trading station near the Vel sector, Rixal closed another failed deal. The Krelin merchant had simply walked away without explanation. That was the third failed negotiation this week. Something was wrong. Rixal had been a trader for 40 years. He knew how business worked. He knew how to read people, even alien people. But lately everyone seemed angry. Small disagreements turned into shouting matches. Simple deals fell apart over nothing. And the violence. There was so much more violence. Last month, the Vectar had raided 3 neighboring systems. The Vectar were a warrior race, proud and strong. But for the last 100 years, they had been peaceful. They traded, they talked, they followed the laws. Humans had made friends with the Vectar somehow. Rixal never understood how. Humans would visit Vectar worlds, share meals, tell stories. The fierce warriors would laugh at human jokes and exchange gifts. It seemed impossible, but it worked. Now the Vectar were raiding again. When asked why, their leader had said, "We are warriors. Why should we pretend to be merchants?" Nobody had a good answer. Rixal flew his ship to the next station. He had a delivery to make. But when he arrived, he found the station under lockdown. 2 species were fighting over docking rights. It was a stupid argument, the kind that would normally be solved in 5 minutes. Instead, ships were firing on each other. Rixal turned his ship around and left. He made another note in his log. That was the 17th conflict this month. Before humans left, he might see 2 or 3 conflicts in a year. In the Exodus fleet, Dongyun sat at his station in the sensor room. He was an engineer who monitored long-range sensors. His job was to watch for dangers like asteroids or spatial anomalies. Instead, he was seeing something else. Energy signatures. Lots of them. Weapons fire, explosions, ships being destroyed, all coming from the galaxy they had left behind. He ran the analysis 3 times to make sure. The conflict levels were up by 400% compared to 15 years ago. That can't be right, he muttered. He checked his instruments again. Everything was working perfectly. Dongyun took his data to his supervisor, who took it to the captain, who took it to the fleet commanders. Within days, everyone was talking about it. Hana was a xenobiologist, a scientist who studied alien life. She had a different kind of data. Before leaving, humans had secretly placed automated probes in various systems. These probes just watched and recorded. They didn't interfere with anything. The probes sent their data to the Exodus fleet every month. Hana's job was to analyze it. The latest reports were disturbing. 17 species were showing signs of economic collapse. Trade networks were falling apart. Planets that had been prosperous were now struggling to feed their people. All 17 species had been major human trading partners. Hana dug deeper. She looked at psychological reports from the probes. They monitored public broadcasts, social networks, and government announcements. The data showed something strange. Alien populations were becoming more anxious, more aggressive, more territorial. Old prejudices that had faded away were coming back. Ancient feuds that everyone thought were forgotten were starting again. She showed her findings to Taiyang. "Look at this," she said, pointing at a graph. "This is the Prillian species. They were peaceful traders. Now they're demanding other species leave their territory. They're talking about ancient territorial claims from 2,000 years ago. Maybe it's just a coincidence," Taiyang said, but he didn't sound convinced. 17 species, Taiyang, all showing the same patterns, all starting about 3 years after humans left. Hana shook her head. "Something is happening." Rixal sent another message. This time it was more urgent. "Taiyang, I don't know if you're reading these, but I have to try. The galaxy is falling apart. I thought I was imagining it at first. But it's real. Species that haven't fought in centuries are at war. Trade routes are collapsing. The Council can't seem to stop it. I keep thinking about something. When humans were here, you were always in the middle of everything. Every dispute, every negotiation, every treaty, humans were involved. We thought you were causing problems. But maybe you were fixing them. I remember the Vector. They were savage before humans befriended them. The Prillians and the Zelton nearly went to war 20 years ago. But humans got them to talk. The Krelans were isolated until humans convinced them to trade. Was it all you? Were humans holding everything together? If you're out there, if you're listening, we made a mistake. Please respond. Taiyang read the message. His hand hovered over the reply button. Then he moved it away. It wasn't his decision to make. Humanity had voted to leave. They had chosen to cut all ties. One person couldn't change that, no matter how much he wanted to help an old friend. He saved the message and forwarded it to the Fleet Council. Let them decide. Back in the galaxy, things got worse. A minor species called the Drell suddenly attacked their neighbors without warning. When asked why, they said, "Why not? Who will stop us?" Before, the answer would have been humans. Human patrol ships kept peace in dozens of sectors. Human diplomats talked angry leaders down from war. Human traders provided neutral ground for enemies to meet. Now there were no human patrols. No human diplomats. No human traders. The Galactic Council tried to fill the gap. They sent peacekeepers, but the peacekeepers came from other species. The species they were supposed to protect didn't trust them. Why would they? Everyone knew peacekeepers would favor their own kind. Humans had been neutral. They had no ancient feuds with anyone because they were new to the galaxy. That made them perfect mediators. Nobody had realized it at the time. Council Speaker Velrian gave a speech. "We are experiencing some minor difficulties as we adjust to the post-human era. But we will overcome them. We always do. The galaxy is stronger without humanity's influence." But even as he spoke, 3 more conflicts erupted. Old alliances were breaking. New enemies were forming. The careful balance that had existed for 2 centuries was coming apart like old cloth. In the Exodus fleet, the leaders held a private meeting. They discussed Rixal's messages. They looked at Dongyun's sensor data and Hana's reports. It's not our problem anymore, one leader said. They wanted us gone. They got their wish. But if the galaxy collapses into total war? Another asked. Still not our problem. Taeyang attended the meeting but said nothing. He knew they were right. Humanity owed the galaxy nothing. The galaxy had treated them terribly. They had every right to watch from a distance and feel nothing. But Taeyang did feel something. He felt sad. He felt worried. And deep down he felt responsible. The meeting ended with no decision. They would continue to monitor the situation. They would not make contact. Taeyang returned to his quarters and finally replied to Rixal's message. Just 3 words, I am listening. It wasn't much. It wasn't help. But it was something. Far away, Rixal received the message and felt hope for the first time in months. He replied immediately, sending more information, more pleas, more evidence that the galaxy needed help. Taeyang read every message. He shared them with Hana and Dongyun. Together they compiled reports. They documented everything. They didn't know it yet, but they were watching the beginning of the end. The galaxy had lived with humans for so long that they forgot what life was like without them. Now they were remembering, and the memory was terrifying. 50 years had passed since humanity departed. The galaxy was burning. Junho stood in his laboratory on the Exodus Fleet flagship, staring at screens filled with data. He was a scientist who studied energy patterns in space. The patterns he was seeing now made no sense. This shouldn't be possible, he said to himself. His assistant, a young woman named Daeun, looked over his shoulder. What am I looking at? Dark matter fluctuations, Junho explained. See these spikes? Dark matter should be stable. It should flow smoothly through space. But look, it's jumping around like water on a hot pan. What causes that? I don't know, but it's getting worse. 5 years ago, these fluctuations were rare. Now they're happening every day. Daeun frowned. Is it dangerous? Junho didn't answer right away. I need more data, he finally said. In orbit around an abandoned asteroid, Captain Minji commanded a scout ship called the Silent Observer. Her mission was simple: watch the galaxy from a distance and report what she saw. What she saw was chaos. The view screen showed a battle between 3 different species. They were fighting over a system that none of them needed. The planet was barely habitable. There were no valuable resources. But they fought anyway, destroying each other's ships. Why are they doing this? Her navigation officer asked. Because they can't help it anymore, Minji said quietly. She had been watching the galaxy for 10 years now. She had seen the pattern. Every year things got worse. More wars, more violence, more destruction. Through her telescope, she watched as the Galactic Council chambers on Station Meridian exploded. A faction called the United Clans had bombed it during a peace negotiation. Station Meridian, the place where Hyun Woo had given humanity's final speech, the symbol of galactic unity. Now it was debris floating in space. Minji recorded everything and sent the data back to the fleet. Then she moved her ship to a safer location and kept watching. Far away, in a medical facility on an alien world, old scientist Krath was dying. He was the crystalline being who had laughed when Hyunwoo announced humanity's departure. That felt like a lifetime ago. Krath had spent the last 50 years studying what went wrong. His entire life's work was trying to understand why the galaxy was collapsing. And finally, after decades of research, he understood. He called his assistant, a younger crystalline named Thren. Bring me the human data files, Krath said. His voice was weak, like glass rubbing on silk. Thren brought the files. They contained everything the Council had collected about humans during their time in the galaxy. Medical scans, psychological profiles, cultural studies, everything. I need you to run a comparison, Krath said. Take the human brain chemistry data and compare it to the galactic aggression levels over time. Thren did as instructed. What appeared on the screen made him freeze. Professor, Thren said slowly, the correlation is almost perfect. Yes, Krath said. When human population was at its peak, galactic aggression was at its lowest. As humans left, aggression increased. It's not a coincidence. I don't understand. How could humans affect the entire galaxy? Krath gestured weakly at another file. Open the pheromone analysis. Thren opened it. His crystals flashed in surprise as he read. Humans naturally produce calming pheromones? Not just calming, species-specific pheromones. Their body chemistry adapted to whatever species they were near. When a human shook hands with a Vectar, the human's skin released compounds that reduced Vectar aggression. When humans served food to Prillians, the food carried compounds that enhanced Prillian empathy. But that's impossible. How could one species evolve to affect so many others? They didn't evolve, Krath said. They were designed. Look at the genetic data. Human DNA has markers that shouldn't exist in natural evolution. Someone made them this way. Thren was silent for a long moment. Who? I don't know. But whoever it was, they made humans to be peacekeepers. Not through force, but through their very existence. Humans were living medicine for a sick galaxy. Krath coughed, and his crystals flickered. He was running out of time. There's more. Look at the technological analysis. Thren pulled up files on human technology. Everything they shared with us was designed to encourage cooperation? Exactly. Their communication devices included subliminal frequencies that reduced hostility. Their ships generated quantum fields that stabilized spatial anomalies. Even their music, do you remember human music? It was strange but pleasant. It was therapeutic. The frequencies in human music dampened ancient aggressive instincts in dozens of species. Humans thought they were just sharing art. They had no idea they were providing therapy to an entire galaxy. Thren's crystals went dark, a sign of deep distress. We drove them away. We exiled the one species that was holding everything together. Yes, Krath said. And now we're dying because of it. In her small office, Soman the philosopher was writing. She had been a young historian when humanity left. Now she was old, and she spent her time trying to understand what humanity's role had really been. Her latest essay was called The Invisible Shield. In it she wrote, "We called humans warmongers, but they absorbed our violence. We called them primitive, but they healed our ancient wounds. We called them thieves, but they gave us everything they had. Humans were not warriors who brought war. They were healers who took on our sickness. They absorbed the poison that would have killed us, and when we drove them away, the poison remained in our blood. We thought they were the problem, but they were the cure." Soman saved her work and sent it to the fleet's archives. She wondered if anyone would ever read it. She wondered if it mattered. Back in his laboratory, Junho made a discovery that terrified him. The dark matter fluctuations weren't random. They followed a pattern, and the pattern was accelerating. He ran simulations. The results were clear. In approximately 50 years, the fluctuations would reach a critical point. When that happened, the galaxy itself would become unstable. Stars would flicker and die. Planets would drift from their orbits. Space itself would tear apart. This is an extinction-level event, Junho told the Fleet Council. Not just for one species, for all life in the galaxy. What causes it? A council member asked. The best I can figure, the galaxy is naturally unstable. It needs some kind of stabilizing force, something that balances the quantum fluctuations and dark matter flows. And you think humans were that force? I think humans were part of it. Their mere presence, their brainwaves, their energy fields, something about humans kept the galaxy stable. Without them, everything is falling apart. The council member leaned back in his chair. Can we fix it? Not without humans. Old scientist Krath finally managed to send a message to humanity. He used an old emergency frequency that should still be monitored. His message was simple. We were wrong. We were so terribly wrong. The galaxy is dying. Please help us. We don't deserve it. But please. The message traveled through space for weeks before reaching the Exodus fleet. When it arrived, it caused an uproar. Some wanted to ignore it. They made their choice. We made ours. Others wanted to help. People are dying. Innocent people who had nothing to do with our exile. Admiral Jinwoo, who had been a young officer during the departure, now commanded the entire fleet. He called a meeting of all the fleet's leaders. Physicist Yunji presented her findings. She had been studying the ancient ruins that humans had quietly excavated before leaving the galaxy. Her discoveries were shocking. Humans aren't from Earth, she announced. At least not originally. The room erupted in noise. Jinwoo held up his hand for silence. Explain. Yunji showed her data. Earth was seeded with human DNA 3 million years ago. By whom, I don't know yet. But humans were placed there intentionally. We were meant to grow, evolve, and eventually join the galaxy. Why? Someone asked. I'm still working on that. But I think we were created for a purpose. And I think that purpose was to stabilize the galaxy. She showed more data. Ancient inscriptions from a species called the Architects, technology that was billions of years old. And at the center of it all, references to the Children of Balance. That's what they called us, Yunji said. The Architects created humanity to be the Children of Balance. We were designed to keep the galaxy from tearing itself apart. The room was silent. Everyone was trying to process what they were hearing. So we're not even real? Someone finally asked. We're just tools? We're as real as anyone, Yunji said firmly. But we were created with a purpose. The question is, do we fulfill that purpose even though the galaxy rejected us? Admiral Jinwoo looked around the room. This is too big a decision for me to make alone. We'll put it to a vote. Every adult in the fleet gets a say. Should humanity return to save the galaxy? The debate lasted for months. It was fierce and emotional. In the end, humanity had to decide who they wanted to be. 100 years after the departure, physicist Yunji stood in an ancient ruin on a dead planet at the edge of the galaxy. Her team had been excavating the site for 3 years. Today they finally reached the central chamber. The chamber walls glowed with soft blue light. Symbols covered every surface, some she recognized, many she didn't. In the center stood a pedestal with a crystalline device. Is it safe? Asked her assistant, Bora. Only one way to find out, Yunji said. She approached the pedestal carefully. When she touched the crystal, it came alive. Images filled the air. A hologram, but more advanced than anything humanity had ever created. It showed the galaxy as it was billions of years ago. Young, violent, unstable, a voice spoke. It wasn't using sound, it spoke directly into their minds. We are the Architects. If you are seeing this, then you have found our final gift. The hologram shifted. It showed the Architects themselves. They looked like light given form, beautiful and alien and ancient beyond understanding. Our species lived for 10 billion years. We built wonders. We created art, we explored the cosmos. But we failed in one thing. We could not fix the galaxy. The images showed chaos. Stars exploding randomly, planets torn apart, space itself rippling like water. The galaxy is flawed. Its structure is unstable. Every few million years, it tries to tear itself apart. We tried everything to fix it. We built machines. We altered physics. We reshaped entire sectors of space. Nothing worked. The hologram showed the Architects' failed attempts. Massive constructions that crumbled. Technologies that backfired. Worlds consumed by their experiments. We were dying out. Our species had grown tired. We had done everything we could do. But before we faded away, we decided to try one more thing. We would not build a machine to save the galaxy. We would build a species. Yunji's breath caught. She knew what was coming. We searched for the perfect world. We needed a place where life could grow in peace, where our creation could evolve naturally, without interference. We found a blue planet orbiting a yellow star. You call it Earth. The hologram showed Earth as it was 3 million years ago, beautiful and empty of intelligent life. We created you there. You, the Children of Balance. We gave you something unique, the ability to stabilize the forces that tear the galaxy apart. Your brain chemistry balances quantum fluctuations. Your emotional energy dampens dark matter instabilities. Your very existence creates harmony in chaos. The hologram showed human DNA being crafted gene by gene. It was art and science combined in ways Yunji couldn't fully understand. We made you contradictory. You can be violent, but you choose peace. You can be selfish, but you work together. You carry chaos in your hearts, but create order with your hands. These contradictions are not flaws, they are your purpose. The galaxy needs both order and chaos. You bridge them. The images changed again. They showed humans spreading through the galaxy. Everywhere they went, stability followed. Wars ended. Species cooperated. The universe breathed easier. You will not remember us. You will not know what you are. This is intentional. If you knew your purpose, you might feel like tools rather than people. So you will discover it yourselves when you are ready. The hologram showed the architects fading away, becoming light. Then nothing. Our final message to you. You are not slaves to this purpose. You are free. If you choose to walk away, the galaxy may die, but that is not your fault. You owe the universe nothing. But we desperately hope that you will choose to help. Not because you must, but because you can. The hologram ended. The chamber went dark. Yoonji stood in silence, tears running down her face. We were created to save them, Bora whispered. And they drove us away. They didn't know, Yoonji said. Nobody knew. Not even us. She copied all the data from the crystal and transmitted it back to the fleet. Every human needed to see this. Meanwhile, the galaxy continued its descent into darkness. Wars raged across 1,000 systems. Species that had lived in peace for millennia now fought to extinction. The Galactic Council had collapsed completely. There was no central government anymore, just chaos. Old scientist Krath lay dying in his laboratory. His assistant Thren had stayed with him, even as their world fell apart around them. Did they respond? Krath asked weakly. His crystalline body was dim, barely glowing. Not yet, Professor. They won't. Why would they? We treated them terribly. Krath's voice was fading. I spent my entire life studying the universe. I thought I was so intelligent. I was a fool. You weren't a fool, Thren said gently. None of us understood, that's no excuse. A truly intelligent being admits what they don't know. We didn't do that. We assumed, we judged. We were arrogant. Krath was quiet for a moment. If I could speak to them one more time, I would tell them the truth. They were the answer to a question we didn't know to ask. They were the solution to a problem we couldn't see. And we drove them away because we were too blind to understand our own ignorance. Thren recorded Krath's words. The old scientist died that night, surrounded by notes and data about the species he had once laughed at. On a distant world, Lorvin was one of the few rational leaders left. She led a small alliance of species trying to maintain some order. It was exhausting and often felt pointless. She had been a junior council member when humans left. She had voted against their exile. Not because she liked humans, she barely knew any, but because it felt wrong. Now she understood why. Her communication officer rushed in. Ma'am, we're receiving a transmission. It's from humans. Lorvin froze. What? It's Ambassador Taeyang. He's asking to speak with you specifically. Lorvin's hands shook as she accepted the call. Taeyang's face appeared on her screen. He looked older now, but his eyes were still kind. Ambassador Lorvin, he said. It's been a long time. Taeyang, I didn't think I'd ever hear from humanity again. We've been watching, Taeyang said. We know what's happening. The wars, the collapse, everything. Then you know we're dying. Lorvin's voice broke. We were wrong about your species, so wrong. I'm sorry, I know you are. You tried to help us back then. I remember. Not enough. I should have done more. Now my people are paying for our mistakes. Taeyang was quiet for a moment. Lorvin, I'm contacting you because humanity is making a decision. We've learned some things about ourselves, about why we exist, and we're deciding whether to return. Hope flared in Lorvin's chest. You might come back? Maybe. But if we do, things will be different. We won't be members of the galactic community begging for acceptance. We'll come as equals, demanding respect. You'll have it, Lorvin said immediately. I'll make sure of it. I'm not in charge anymore. But I'll deliver your message to those who are. The call ended. Lorvin sat in her chair, feeling something she hadn't felt in years. Hope. In the Exodus fleet, Admiral Jinwoo held the most important meeting in human history. Every representative from every ship was present. The vote was about to begin. You've all seen Yoonji's discovery, Jinwoo said. You know what we are now. The architects created us to stabilize the galaxy. The question is, do we accept that purpose? A representative stood. They don't deserve our help. They treated us like garbage, another stood. But innocent people are dying. Children who never hurt us. We didn't ask to be created for this purpose. We have the right to refuse, and then we do have that right. But do we want to be the kind of people who watch a galaxy die when we could save it? The debate went on for hours. Finally, Jinwoo called for the vote. All in favor of returning to the galaxy, raise your hand. Hands went up. Jinwoo counted them carefully. It wasn't unanimous. Almost half voted against returning. All opposed. More hands. But fewer. The motion passes, Jinwoo said. Humanity will return. But we do it on our terms. The fleet erupted in noise. Some cheered. Others protested. But the decision was made. Yoonji stood and spoke. If we're doing this, we need to be smart. We can't just go back and expect everything to work. We need a plan. She outlined her ideas. They would return gradually to strategic locations. They would use technology to amplify their stabilizing effect. They would demand proper treaties and protections. Taeyang added his thoughts. We also need to teach them. They need to understand what we are and why we're necessary. No more secrets. No more misunderstandings. Admiral Jinwoo looked around the room. This will take time to prepare, maybe 10 years. But we're committing to this path now. Humanity returns to save the galaxy, not because we have to, but because we choose to. That makes all the difference in the galaxy nobody knew yet. They didn't know that hope was coming. They didn't know that the children of balance had decided to come home. But they would learn. And this time they would understand. 10 years after the vote, the first human ship returned to the galaxy. It was called the Peacebringer, and it carried Ambassador Taeyang along with a crew of 300. They didn't go to a central location. Instead, they went to a small system on the edge of civilized space where Lorvan's alliance was headquartered. Taeyang wanted to start small with people who might actually listen. When the Peacebringer arrived, Lorvan was waiting at the docking port. She had aged in the past decade. Her scales were duller, her movements slower. The wars had taken their toll on everyone. Taeyang walked down the ramp. For a moment, they just looked at each other. Then Lorvan bowed deeply, a sign of profound respect in her culture. Welcome back, she said. Welcome home, Taeyang bowed in return. Thank you for giving us a chance. They sat down to negotiate. This time it was different. Taeyang had a list of demands. Real demands, not requests. First, he said, humanity will be recognized as the children of balance. We are not just another species. We are the stabilizing force this galaxy needs. Lorvan nodded. Agreed. Second, any species that wishes to have humans settle in their territory must sign a protection treaty. Humans will not be exiled again. We will not be scapegoated. If there are problems, they will be investigated fairly. Agreed. Third, humans will have voting rights in any new council that forms. Equal rights, not junior membership. Agreed. Taeyang looked surprised. You're accepting everything? Lorvan made a sound like soft wind, her species' version of laughter. Taeyang, we're dying. The galaxy is falling apart. You could demand we bow before every human we meet, and we'd do it. You're being remarkably fair considering what we did to you. We're not here for revenge, Taeyang said quietly. We're here to help. But we're also here to be respected. You have my respect. You always did. The treaty was signed that day. It became known as the Lorvan Accord, and it set the standard for all future human relationships with alien species. More human ships began to arrive. Not all at once, the plan was gradual. Fleet Commander Minji, now an admiral herself, oversaw the strategic placement of human settlements. We need to think of ourselves as medicine, she told her officers. Too much in one place doesn't help. We need to spread out, create networks of stability. Humans settled on key worlds and stations. Everywhere they went, the changes were immediate. Wars in nearby systems slowed down. Trade routes reopened. Species that had been enemies for decades suddenly found they could talk without wanting to kill each other. It wasn't magic. It was biology. Human presence naturally calmed aggressive instincts. Their pheromones, their energy fields, their brainwaves, all of it combined to create an environment where cooperation was easier than conflict. But this time, everyone knew about it. Physicist Yoonji made sure of that. She traveled from world to world, giving lectures and presentations about the architects and humanity's purpose. We're not superior to you, she explained at one conference. We're just different. We were created to do a job. That doesn't make us better, just specialized. Some species struggled with this truth. The proud Vectar didn't like the idea that they needed humans to control their aggression. Their leader, a warrior named Keth, confronted Yoonji after one of her presentations. You're saying we can't be peaceful without you? That's insulting. That's not what I'm saying, Yoonji replied. You can be peaceful, but it's harder for you without us. Just like it would be harder for us to survive on your desert worlds without breathing equipment. It's not an insult. It's just biology. Keth thought about this. So humans are like environmental equipment for peace? That's actually a good way to think about it. Keth laughed, a deep rumbling sound. Fine. Then I'm glad to have you here. My people have been fighting for 50 years. I'm tired of war. Slowly, understanding spread. Species began to appreciate what humans did instead of resenting it. And humans, knowing their purpose, worked to fulfill it more effectively. The old station Meridian had been destroyed in the wars. Admiral Jinwoo proposed building a new one, designed jointly by humans and aliens. It would be a symbol of the new era. The new Meridian took 5 years to build. It was beautiful, a combination of human efficiency and alien artistry. When it was finished, representatives from 60 species gathered for the opening ceremony. Old historian Yuna was there. She was ancient now, over 150 years old, kept alive by advanced medicine. She had documented humanity's departure. Now she would document their return. Admiral Jinwoo gave a speech at the ceremony. We left this galaxy 110 years ago. We left in sorrow. We return in purpose. We were created to be guardians, but we choose to be friends. Perhaps that's what the architects intended all along. Not slaves to duty, but beings who would choose to help others even when wronged. The applause was genuine. Times had changed. People had learned. Scientist Thren, who had been old Krath's assistant, also attended. He was old himself now. He asked to speak and Jinwoo allowed it. My teacher, Professor Krath, spent his last years studying humanity, Thren said. His crystalline voice resonated through the hall. He learned too late what you truly were. He died full of regret. But before he passed, he wrote something I want to share. Thren projected Krath's words onto a screen. We thought we were advanced. We thought we understood the universe. Humanity taught us that true wisdom is knowing what we don't know. They were the answer to a question we didn't know to ask. If I could speak to them now, I would say thank you for coming back. We don't deserve your forgiveness, but we need your help, and we promise to never take you for granted again. The hall was silent. Then someone started clapping. Others joined. Soon everyone was applauding, for Krath's honesty, for humanity's return, for the hope of a better future. The work was far from over. Physicist Junho had discovered that while human presence helped, it wasn't enough to completely stabilize the galaxy. The dark matter fluctuations were still a problem. Yunji and her team developed amplification technology. These were devices that enhanced humans' natural stabilizing effects. They called them harmony nodes. Each node can extend one human's influence across an entire sector, Yunji explained. We won't need humans on every planet. Strategic placement with these nodes will be enough. The harmony nodes were installed across the galaxy over the next decade. The effect was dramatic. Stars that had been flickering stabilized. Spatial anomalies calmed. The galaxy itself seemed to breathe easier. In a quiet corner of New Meridian, Taeyang sat with his old friend Rixal. The avian trader had aged gracefully, his blue feathers now touched with silver. I never stopped believing you'd come back, Rixal said. Everyone else gave up, but I knew humans. You're too stubborn to let everyone die, even if they deserve it. Taeyang smiled. We're not that noble. It was a close vote, but you came back anyway. That's what matters. They sat in comfortable silence, watching ships come and go from the station, human ships and alien ships working together. Do you think it'll last? Rixal asked. This peace? I don't know, Taeyang admitted. We're helping with the biological part, calming aggression, making cooperation easier. But the rest is up to everyone. Humans can't force you to be good people. We can only make it easier to choose to be good. That's enough, Rixal said. That's more than enough. 20 years after the return, things had changed dramatically. The wars had ended. The economy was recovering. New alliances were forming, genuine ones, based on cooperation instead of fear. Admiral Minji stood on the bridge of her flagship, looking at a map of human settlements. They were spread across the galaxy like stars in their own right. Each one a point of light holding back the darkness, not through force, not through conquest, just by existing, by being what they were created to be. She thought about the architects. Had they known it would turn out this way? The exile, the return, the hard lessons learned by everyone, maybe. Maybe they had understood that true guardianship couldn't be forced. It had to be chosen. Her communication officer spoke up. Admiral, we're receiving a message from a species we haven't heard from before. They call themselves the Rillian. They're asking if humans would be willing to establish a settlement in their territory. Tell them we'll send an ambassador to discuss terms, Minji said, and remind them of the Lorvan Accord. We come as equals, not servants. Yes, ma'am. The work continued. It would always continue. There would always be conflicts to mediate, problems to solve, stability to maintain. But humans didn't face it alone anymore. They had allies now. Real allies who understood and appreciated what humans did. In her small office, ancient Yuna made her final entry in the historical record. We left in sorrow. We returned in purpose. We found our place among the stars, not through force or submission, but through understanding. We are the children of balance. We were built for this moment and we chose to rise to it. Not because we had to, not because we owed anyone anything, but because we could help and we decided that was enough reason. The architects are gone. The old galaxy is gone, but something new has been built from the ashes. Something better we learned. They learned. Together we built a future worth having. That is the end of one story and the beginning of another. The stars are no longer silent. They sing with the voices of 1,000 species, living together, working together, surviving.